This is the last part of our discussion about learning. We'll talk about four types of knowledge. We have here the factual knowledge, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive, so that we could easily identify next time on what type of knowledge are we going to focus during the discussion. Let's start with factual knowledge. What's with factual knowledge? You can define, guys, factual knowledge simply as a terminologies, specific details, and basic elements within any domain. So, dito papasok yung sa mga multiple choice, yung meron talagang specific na factual knowledge. And this is the information that can and must be learned through exposure, repetition, syempre pag ganun para mas maalala at mas ma-memorize, and commitment to memory. Luckily, since our memories are not the best places to store facts, we can help ourselves by knowing where to access factual knowledge when we need it. So, ayan, merong namang information from the books, online, or notebooks, or journals, or asking the person who know you knows it. Kaya, maganda ditong factual knowledge. Kaya minsan, hindi natin kailangang memorize talaga lahat. Lalo na nowadays that internet is very one of the essential na bagay na dapat meron yung tao, lalo sa mga student. Kasi pag may mga researches naman talaga, si internet naman talaga tatakbo, di ba? And we could find everything, di ba? Hindi naman sa lahat ng pagkakataon ay kaya talaga ng brain natin. Hindi naman ganun ka sobrang million gigabytes ba yung brain natin para mapasok lahat or matandaan lahat ng information, di ba? But for factual knowledge naman, meron tayong specific things na pwedeng mapagkunan. Ito yung mga domain, guys, once it's a factual knowledge. We have the law. We should have this knowledge of the principles of law and relevant legislation. So, kung ano yung mga batas, kung what specific section, mga ganun, it's more on factual knowledge kasi minimorize mo yung mga specific details eh. And social policy, knowledge of relevant social policy. So, halimbawa, alam natin pag sa school, no ID, no entry, or dapat naka-uniform, diba? So, yun yung mga factual talaga. Agency policy din, same lang dun sa social, sa problems, knowledge of particular problems, and the people, specific groups of people, even yung mga names or characteristics that somewhat like in a factual knowledge. Kasi pag sa factual naman, minsan other student would be good in memorizing. So, maganda. Kaya, pag sa exam, most of the time, pag lalong factual palagi na knowledge ang kailangan, 'di ba? How much paano na lang yung mga estudyante na they're not really good in memorization. So, for example nito, guys, sa factual knowledge, 'di ba, it is common knowledge that to be a successful in meeting a goal, you know the related facts, 'di ba? Pag salesman ka or teacher ka, you have to better know the facts about the product or service na ibibigay mo. Kaya 'di ba, dito nga sa teaching natin sa facilitating a learner-centered base, kasi para maging learner-centered base ang ibibigay natin sa bata, dapat alam natin kung mga characteristics nila, tapos kung anong type of learners sila at kung paano nangyayari yung mga learning. Kasi pag hindi, 'di ba, paano ka nga naman makapagturo kung hindi mo ka nga familiar with the processes that was discussed. And 'di ba, even kung CEO ka, you have to better know the facts about your core business if he or she wants to have a credibility. Kaya yung iba, 'di ba, kung sino yung nagsimula sa baba talaga, sila yung nagiging CEO, mas marami silang alam kasi mas mabilis, mas maganda yung quality na kayang provide ng leader na yon. And school principal then, better know the facts about good teaching methodology and pedagogy. How else can he or she be an instructional leader? Nga naman, di ba? Hindi niya alam kung paano yung tamang way ng pagturo, kung ano yung mga mythology, kung ano yung different types of philosophy na pwede natin gamitin to teach the children. Tapos, ayun. Kaya dapat namamaster yun. Okay? We cannot really give what we don't have. So, yun yung mga factual knowledge, yung mga bagay na dapat alam natin. And next is the conceptual knowledge naman tayo. This definition includes, guys, ng knowing information, classification, and categorization. So, from the word conceptual, it's more on categorization talaga siya, tsaka classification. Thus, you have to know the principles and generalizations, knowing theories, models, and structures. Kasi doon nagsimula yung concept, di ba? Kaya di ba sa concept map, pag pinapagawa kayo, meron kayong pinaka-center or pinaka-primary na information. Tapos, next in secondary and other parts na basically conceptual knowledge is knowing the facts can be organized in meaningful ways. Yeah. You don't have to memorize so much from it by just remembering pag conceptual. It's more in concept, categorization, classification, ganun lang siya pag tinatandaan natin. Kasi ang conceptual knowledge, guys, it's explicit or implicit understanding of the principles that govern a domain and of the interrelations between pieces of knowledge in a domain. That's according to Rital Johnson and Wagner, 1999. Kaya sabi nila, may mga researches that was made, guys, na mas maganda daw pag conceptual yung knowledge na ibibigay natin. Kasi nga, mas malawak yung naibibigay nilang impormasyon. Ideas, relationship, connections, or having a sense of something, learning that involves understanding and interpreting concepts and the relationship between the concepts. Kasi pag concept nga naman, nakikita mo yung pagiging interrelated ng mga bagay-bagay. And doing it could make, ito yung sinasabi na integrative way of learning. Kasi na-integrate mo yung nalalaman mo dito sa subject na to or sa topic na to with the other topics. And then to know why something happens in a particular way. I'll give you an example. Doon sa, halimbawa, doon sa teaching professional subject natin, 'di ba? May kita doon yung mga rules na binibigay. And you have to be familiar then kung paano ba talaga yung pinaka-concept o anong meron sa teaching profession na yun, anong pinaka-content niya. So, it should be about the qualities of the teacher, kung ano yung mga requirements, kung ano yung mga responsibility niya between the teacher and the student, the teacher and the society, diba? Iba-iba yon. So, yun yung concept na kailangan nakikita natin ng buo. And, when we say conceptual form of knowledge din kasi, it's related din sa factual knowledge. Pero ang conceptual knowledge can be understood as knowing the interrelationship or functions among the details and elements that make up larger structure. Mas larger yung structure na kasi mas malawak nga naman. And example na dito is there must be a conceptual knowledge of the differences and the meaningful competitive advantage of one over the other. So, makikita mo doon na pag halimbawa sa conceptual knowledge natin, di ba sabi ko kanina, there are different types of theories ng learning styles. So, makikita mo doon yung pinaka-konsepto kung ito palang philosopher na to or educator na to, more on pala siya sa learning, ang focus niya ay more on sa psychology, yung isa naman, ang focus niya ay more on sa inspiration or about experiential learning sa life, ganun. So, iba-iba yun. Doon mo makikita, pag conceptual way of learning yung ginagawa natin. Kasi nakikita natin yung pagkakaiba-iba. And, kasama din kasi yun sa sa LET din talaga. Hindi lang siya sa factual knowledge talaga. Pag sa board exam, pinapakita din doon pag sa conceptual knowledge to see the difference. Halimbawa, sino yung philosopher na ganito yung thinking? Mas focus siya sa religion or mas focus siya sa inspiration type of teaching. Tapos meron din namang anong specific approach ng teaching kung saan dito mas learner-centered. Meron ding approach na teacher-centered. So, dun, makikita talaga. Kaya, dapat ginagamit din tayo ng conceptual knowledge. Sa dami-dami ng tao, guys, sa pag-educators, sobrang daming mga psychologists, educators, yung mga tao, at patay na yan sila. Pero lumalabas pa rin yan sila sa board exam, like John Dewey, yung mga ganun, si Gardner, makikita mo dun kung ano talaga, dapat talaga kinikilala natin sila in a conceptual way of knowledge para makita natin yung pagkakaiba-iba nila. Tapos, pag pipili tayo sa board exam, alam natin kung ano yung difference, di ba? Masasagot natin agad. Dito lang tayo naghuhula ng sagot. And then, let's talk about the procedural naman. Anong meron sa procedural? This knowledge type is critical for success in goal attainment because it puts the what into action through the how process. Procedural knowledge can be understood as knowledge of subject-specific skills and algorithms, subject-specific techniques and methods, and criteria for deciding when to use the right procedures. Ito naman sa procedural knowledge, may sinusunod ka step by step, may guidelines. Like for example, dito sa procedural knowledge, how to make orange juice. So may step by step siya. Normally ginagamit siya sa mga diba, sa mga HRM students or yung sa mga cooking lessons or even sa science na subject, more on procedural knowledge talaga yung ginagamit. And when we say procedural knowledge, this knowledge type is critical then for success in goal attainment, guys, because it puts the what into action through the how process. Maganda yung talaga, kasi in this way, pag procedural knowledge, merong application talaga kasi na-apply nila yung or sinusunod nila yung mga facts na binibigay. And procedural knowledge can be understood as a knowledge of subject-specific na skills. And then, when you cognitively know how to do something naman talaga, then you need to physically try it and pay close attention to both the process and the outcome. If you're listening to your body, your mind, and your guts, you will gain information through multiple feedback loops, and those loops of information will guide your analysis and future actions in becoming better on how to do it. So, hindi ibig sabihin, guys, kung may pa-activity, halimbawa sa science, diba? Pag sumusunod ka ng process or step-by-step procedure, ay hindi mo na yun magagamit sa ibang subject. Of course, you can even use it in your life na dapat pala ganun, upon learning these steps or having this procedural knowledge pala, dapat you learn to follow the rules, yung steps, before you will meet the outcomes or the objectives that you really wanted, diba? So, ganyan yung kagandahan pag procedural knowledge. Now, let's find out the difference pag procedural versus conceptual. Pag sinasabi nating procedural, guys, ito yung measure the perimeter of the room. Kasi procedure yun eh. Pag conceptual naman, estimate the perimeter of the room and then justify your estimate. Meron siyang justification talaga pag conceptual. Kasi dapat makikita mo siya as yung kabuuan niya eh. And if you sleep for 7.5 hours each day, what percentage of the day is spent sleeping? Yan. Procedure. And is it reasonable to state that many people sleep for 30% of the day? Why or why not? Yan. Konsepto yung ini-explain talaga. And we have find an equation to solve this problem. Find a problem that can be solved using this equation. How can you tell if you are right? Yan. Mas maganda yung conceptual knowledge. Mas malalim talaga siya kaysa procedural. But then, they have their own, qualities. Kung saan lang yung mas maganda at what specific topic or subject yung ituturo natin na mas akma talaga dun sa topic na ibibigay natin. Okay? Baka kasi English tayo tapos more on procedural. Although, meron din talagang mga procedural types of knowledge na pwede sa, sa English, like sa mga grammar or sa mga rules, diba? And lastly, guys, we have the metacognitive knowledge. This is probably the least paid attention to knowledge type because sometimes it feels uncomfortable to reflect on what is happening inside your world. Totoo yan. Pag metacognitive kasi, thinking about thinking, iniisip mo kung ano yung iniisip mo. So, masyado siyang magulo. But you are actually reflecting on what's happening inside your world. More on introspective thinking siya na, ba't ko kaya naiisip to? Or bakit kaya ganun yung perspective ko about this thing? Is it affected about my family, the culture, or mga beliefs? Or I was more into influenced by my friends, by the teacher, or by the book? So, ganun. You are actually thinking about what you are thinking. Nagre-reflect ka talaga. And metacognitive knowledge kasi, guys, it could be understood through strategic knowledge, knowledge about cognitive tasks, tapos self-knowledge. Kasi, thinking about thinking, dapat alam mo kung bakit ka nag-iisip ng ganyan or bakit ganito yung knowledge na meron ka. And to summarize it all, guys, yung difference ng apat na to, pag sinabing factual knowledge, it refers siya sa essential facts, sa terminology and details, diba? While conceptual knowledge, it's more on the classifications, the principles, generalizations, theories, models, or structure pertinent to a particular disciplinary area. At pag procedural naman, It refers to information or knowledge that helps students do something specific to a disciplined subject. Tapos lastly, pag metacognitive, it's a strategic or reflective knowledge about solving problems, cognitive tasks to include contextual and conditional knowledge and knowledge of self. So later on guys, maybe sa exam or sa mga quiz, activity na ipapagawa ko sa inyo, I might provide a specific activity or a statement. Tapos aalamin nyo yun kung if it's a factual form of knowledge, kung conceptual ba siya, procedural, or metacognitive. Okay? Kaya dapat na ma-master nyo yan kung anong difference between the four types of knowledge. So that's all guys. I hope that you learned something for this topic that I discussed to you. Thank you.